And we are racing, and it's an absolutely electric start for the 42 of Will Bedford. Massive lunge on the inside by Matt Buff on Alistair Camp. Active on the outside. Oh! Oh! Deep off! Oh. Straight in the gravel trap. Both cars out.
Hi everyone, welcome to the holding area here at Croft as we are moments away, Henry Beaudet, for qualifying for round 3 of the 2023 Milltek Sports Civic Cup. What an atmosphere. We can hear the engines, they're ticking over, but we're going to get some VTEC in a few minutes.
We are indeed. Again, what a great field, nearly 30 drivers. This is rounds 3 and 4. We're at Croft, 2.1 miles, fast, flowing, a little bit bumpy, very little room for error. A great start to the season at Snetterton. Just behind us, we've got championship leader Jack Harding. The drivers are sat in their cars. We're going to try and maybe get a word with some of them, but obviously it's, you know, they are in the cars. But I mean, the tension is rising. You know, this circuit is going to lend itself to some very, very close quarters action all the way around the circuit. Plenty of places to overtake, and these Civic Cup drivers, they're going to find a few more places to overtake that maybe we haven't even thought of yet.
But also, there's been a bit of a carrot dangled in breaking news earlier on this week from the Civic Cup itself. The fact that the championship winner, come the end of this season at Brands Hatch in October, the champion is going to head over to Jazz Motorsport, the Honda Racing development team for not just the TCR program that have just unveiled the new FL5, which is back in action here this weekend. One of these lucky drivers at the end of this season will go to the Jazz Motorsport headquarters in Milan. They'll have a 2-day experience, a tour of the factory, go on the simulator, and day 2, they get behind the wheel of the Honda Civic Type R FL5, the same machinery that Chris Smiley is piloting at this this moment.
And I think you can see that this is becoming a real sort of feeder, a way into TCR racing, both here in the UK, in Europe and around the world. Just by the start, we've got some experienced drivers here. We've got a lot of young guns just coming out of the likes of the junior championships, out of karting into the likes of Max Edmonds, Leonardo Paneatu, Louis Capozzoli, plenty more as well that, again, they're starting out. This is a stepping stone for them. Obviously, it's a great competitive championship in its own right, but a lot of these drivers have got their eyes on the prize of a TCR drive in the future. No practice this morning. Yes, they had practice yesterday here at Croft. It was raining in the morning, a little bit dry in the afternoon. Today, yes, we got bright blue skies overhead. We got one race later on this afternoon. Now, I don't want to be the harbinger of doom, Alex. However, behind us, the blue skies are not quite as blue. Potentially, we could have weather today and tomorrow. You know, later on today, that's gonna really mix things up. So this 15-minute session is really, really important. Let's have a look up and down the field. Some of the drivers are not going to escape your microphone, Alex. Let's have a look.
Neither is the championship leader. Let's see if we can have a quick chat with Ben Shepherd Racing's Jack Harding. Jack, I know we had a quick chat yesterday. How are the brakes feeling on the front of the car now?
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good so far. We changed the pads and the discs. It's made a bit of a difference. So we made a big setup change overnight as well to help with the front end, because we were lacking a little bit in the last practice yesterday. But hopefully it'll work. We'll soon see though.
Brilliant, Jack. All the best of luck for qualification today. So Jack is the current championship leader. He had a bit of a brake stop issue, you know, with some pads and the calipers yesterday during the testing. So he said, yeah, new pads in. Hopefully we're going to get it all sorted out here for quali.
Yeah, now, of course, we've got Will Redford just over at our shoulder here. Very, very consistent on the podium. Behind us, though, the number 119. He's got his door open. Now, that's an open invitation to any...
You know what? You don't need to tell me twice. It's one of 3 FN2 Honda Civic Type Rs on the grid. So we're going to now have a little bit of a chat with Mr. Alden in the 119. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Not too bad, thanks. How are you?
All good. One of 3 FN2 cars. How's the car been through testing yesterday? Obviously no free practice this morning.
It's okay. We had a little bit of an electrical fault yesterday afternoon which kept cutting out, but it seems okay. We had a new engine at Snetterton, so still bedding it in at the moment, so we'll wait and see. It's first time here for a few years, so still learning the track.
Obviously it's a bit bumpy, a bit undulating. I mean, suspension is going to be crucial around here along with braking. How's the car been evolving over the course of yesterday despite the electrical issue?
Yeah, it's been coming together. It's, yeah, as you say, along into Lodge, it's a little bit bumpy going in there, so it's just kind of trying to keep it all together, but the rest of the track's fine. It's not too bad.
Brilliant. Wishing you all the best of luck for qualifying.
Thank you.
So, yeah, electrical problem for Mr. Alden, but new engine at Snetterton.
Yep.
You know, hopefully he might get a good run. He's one of 3 drivers that have got FN2 cars. The majority are the old EP3s, so...
Yeah, now, of course, the newer cars, you think, oh, the newer cars, they're bound to be faster. Not necessarily. You know, the championship tries to make sure that the older models remain competitive with the newer models. I've got to say, they look really, really nice. That number 119 car, it's got echoes of a kind of a NASCAR-style paint scheme, which I really like. But we'll go from one of the more experienced drivers. I want to speak to this next driver over here, Max Edmondson.
Oh, yes. Well, you know what? I'll give you the microphone so you can have a chat with Max, because I spoke with him yesterday. Off you go, Henry.
Oh, thank you very much. Right, well, now, Max is one of the drivers, one of the young and up-and-coming drivers in the championship. We're going to move on here. He's got the Area Motorsport car. Very, very smart-looking machine indeed. Max is we're going to open the door, because... Max, you've got a lot of support up here this weekend. You know, are you feeling confident? I mean, the car looks good, the race suit looks good, helmet looks good. Are you feeling good?
I'll tell you after qualifying, but we should have the pace enough to do top 10.
Top 10, right, there we go. That is as last minute as it gets. I'll even close the door. It is well, time qualifying's underway, Alex.
Yes, indeed. We're going to go to a brief break here at Croft as qualifying for round 3. Dan Thackeray set pole position at Snetterton. Who are we going to crown on pole position here today at Croft?
Do you wonder why your competitors' websites appear in Google searches ahead of you? Then make a call to the SEO experts Warrior and understand how your business can be more visible online. As the official marketing partner of TCR UK, you can now work with a trusted search engine optimization partner to increase web traffic, inquiries and sales. Speak to us for your free audit and quote by visiting warrior.co.uk today.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
Well, good morning everybody and welcome to Croft Circuit in North Yorkshire for the first live coverage of the weekend here of the TCR UK and Milltek Sports Civic Cup race weekend. Scott Woodward's here in the commentary box to guide you through all the action, and as you can see on track, the Milltek Sports Civic Cup is indeed out for its qualifying session to determine the grid and see who can set pole position for race one later on. It's going to be quite a magnificent weekend all round. The Civic Cup has been quite the weekend to watch, quite the championship to watch all the way through, particularly in those first opening rounds at Snetterton. If you did join us both either at the circuit or the live coverage, you'll know just how strong it was. Of course, we had some amazing racing all the way through from start to finish. So this 3.42 kilometre circuit, 12 turns. It's quite a flat circuit, only 23 feet in elevation. Crazy to think the circuit has lasted since 1948, but in its current guise, it was built back in 1997 when it started to welcome proper full track racing. Back then, it was formerly known as more regularly used as a rallycross circuit. Look at some of the weather we've got today. It's relatively scattered clouds. We might even get some rain later on, but it's going to be quite warm out there, so possibly a little bit humid, and it means that the track conditions could be quite mixed and quite intermediate, and that's usually a driver's nightmare when it comes to this sort of thing. You either want it fully wet or fully dry in between, and it's a real lottery in terms of trying to find a setup that works on these cars. So an excellent entry of some 30 cars almost racing here, and the drivers are also venturing out as their first full flying laps here as qualifying is just about underway. We had about already 4 minutes or so, and it's Max Edmondson, the man who won the race on the road at Snetterton, who currently has the fastest time by nearly half a second from the former champion as the Camp in second place. Alex Kite is currently now in third. And it's this man who leads the championship, Jack Harding, who's out there to try and set the fastest time possible. Now, one thing we should catch you up on from Snetterton is that when we left the coverage, it was Max Edmondson that had actually taken the win on the road, but there was some possible information. Whoa, that car just gone straight off the road headed towards Jim Clark S's. That was off to driver's right. Now, either he was trying to warm up his tyres or not. That was one of the Pro Alloys cars that's immediately gone exit stage left and off the road, so I couldn't quite catch exactly who it was. They've all got different coloured accents on the mirrors and on the front bumpers to try and tell the different drivers which of the Pro Alloys drivers it was. I'm not quite sure. So as they come on towards the next couple of laps, we see that Henry Burdett has hot-fussed it back down from the assembly area. There's the car which went off. It's actually White who went off the road, so he's in car 727 trying to recover himself onto the road. But that was a bit of a rude awakening on your qualifying lap, and all of a sudden the car just spears off to the right. Yeah,
Jackson White having a few difficulties there, back on track. Have to say, it's a long way up from the holding area up to our commentary position, Scott. Luckily, I'm in peak physical condition, but Jackson White, you can see the yellow cross on the back of his car, so one of the least experienced drivers in the class. But Max Edmondson, talking to Max Edmondson, literally as last minute as you can get before he goes out, had to close the door as he was leaving. Obviously, it hasn't affected him, and White is coming into the pits now. So Jackson White just, recovering. Luckily, the car looks undamaged physically.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have rattled him slightly as to wonder why he was sliding off that immediately, but even so, just coming in to let the Paralysed squad check the car over. Coming up towards half distance in the qualifying session so far, Max Edmondson does have indeed the fastest time by 3.5 tenths. Will Redford in second place fastest. Alistair Camp is currently in P3, but he's, as you can see on the left-hand side, due to the pit icon on the left-hand side, currently in the pit lane. And as I mentioned, that Daddy Hobson, who has had quite a success around this circuit, particularly when we were here last time with the Civic Cup back in 2019. That's from 4 years ago. Up there now into second fastest. We should also mention quickly is that this circuit, since TCR UK has been here and Civic Cup, has been resurfaced. Therefore, there is new grip out there. So it's likely that we might see some decreases in some of the existing championship and series lap records throughout there. Jackson White, as you mentioned, also has just left to head back onto the circuit after his quick check over from the car. So everyone at Pro Alloys appears to be happy with how the car is looking after that little off.
I've got to say, it's been a few years, Scott, since I've been up here. The circuit looks absolutely fantastic. The team here up at Croft have done a fantastic job. The whole facility looking really strong. Now, there is the number 54 car on your screen. That is Harvey Caton. Just coming out of Tower and heading down towards the Jim Clark S. Is not looking as though he's travelling at any great rate of knots. Wonder if there was a previous off that we've just missed. Will Redford now goes into P2, just a tenth of a second. Slower than Max Edmondson, and you can see coming into Sunny Inn, so the car's moving about. That's Dan Thackeray, the number 29 car, the Motion Motorsport entry. It's a great bird's eye view of just how physical it is to drive, especially around the back section of this circuit. It's still the top, and squealing of tyres going into the S there. Thackeray just cocking a left rear wheel in the air as he slows down. You can see the drivers now slowing down, coming into the final hairpin. They're looking to try and get a little bit of clean air. We are just over halfway through this session, Scott, and of course, drivers. Alex spoke to a couple on the holding area. No practice this morning. Several drivers. Oh dear.
That is
number 73. That would be Dan McDonald.
Yeah, Dan McDonald off the road, damage to the left front of that one. Now it looks, now that possibly suggests to me that it's some kind of contact, either that or he's, well, looking at the screen, it looks as though that the car has either had contact with something or something's failed on that car, and he's pulled the car off into the inside. That's exiting Sunny out, so yellow flags out to warn drivers of the stationary vehicle. Now, what do we do? That vehicle is not going to go anywhere in the next 6 minutes without some assistance from the circuit staff in the recovery vehicle. Will Redford has already pitted, so has Harvey Caton. You can see Dave Marshall there in 18th place. Owen Hillman, I saw his car sadly not out in this session. It's parked in the paddock area. Not quite sure what has happened there. Is this going to be an early bath, as it were? You could see on the right-hand side of your screen there the red, one of the new FN2 cars. That might be, it's not Mark Hughes, he's in a very bright blue liveried car. That could be Dave Marshall, who was pitted in the number 66, that bright red, the new style Civic body shape. But yeah, there will be yellow flags, Scott. Now that is going to be, I can't imagine the other marshals would withdraw the yellow flags with the car just off the side of the circuit. However, you know, they'll maybe give everybody, and you can see there are red flags out. Red flag session stop. Now, I think they've got the ability to do this because we are running a little bit ahead of time, some 10-15 minutes, to give a bit of a cushion just in case. And they do obviously factor in clear-up times at the end of each session, but usually within the VRSCC, they're quite ruthlessly efficient in the best possible ways that they can get one session finished. The clear-up time is there just in case it's needed, but usually they like to run a little bit ahead of schedule, so you've got that buffer of 10, 15, 20 minutes if even possible to be able to accommodate things like red flags or like stoppages or lengthy clear-ups, so that even if there is some time being used up, at least it keeps everything on track. And even usually when the sessions do get to be a little bit behind, it's not long until they get themselves right up there. Well, it gives us an opportunity, Scott, to have a look at where things stand at the moment. Max Edmondson, 1 minute 32.168 seconds. And if you have a look down there, look at that, the top 10 separated by just 3/4 of a second. Will Redford second. There is a look at a rather dejected Dan McDonald walking away, and of course he's thinking, okay, I've got, now that's the front valance sticking out the side. Judging by the tyre mark going across the circuit, that looks like maybe on the exit of the corner he came across a car slowing down, because this is the area of the track that we did see drivers easing back to try and give themselves some clean air. There is a possibility. There's a genuine probability that he has come across a slower car.
And other driver.
And on that side of things, it's been a bit of a collision or a slight misunderstanding where he's gone to go past them. But obviously the slower car wants to try and move off the racing line. But usually it's the responsibility of the slower car to be able to hold its position and for the faster car to make its way around. So there may have been, if there's been any contact between two cars, because we haven't seen the incident itself, there doesn't appear to be any barrier damage because, of course, if there would, there'd be dislodged tyres on to the right of the screen where the marshal's posts are. So I suggest it is either contact or it's something that somebody just failed on the car and just brought him to a stop.
Well,
to pull it off the road.
The left front wheel has obviously failed while he's on the track because he has dragged. You can see the dark tyre mark across where he was. That's part of the strange angle where he's obviously good to see the recovery team here at Croft on circuit very, very quickly. Gives us a chance once again. We mentioned Max Edmondson, 1 minute 32.168 seconds. Behind him, second fastest at the moment is Will Redford, 1 minute 32.273. Then it is Hobson in car number 38, 1 minute 32.420. Sam Kirkpatrick, fourth fastest, 1 minute 32.597. Then the rest of the top 10, Harding, Bensley, Caton, Capazzoli, Camp and Kite. Just outside the top 10, Bailey in 11th and Thackeray down in 12th, the driver that was pole position in the only other previous qualifying session we've had this year at Snetterton for round 1 and 2. Dan Thackeray only 12th fast at the moment. Then you've got Buki, Chapman, Paneatiu, Knight, McDonald, who is there, who will go no further in this session. So 17th is the best. His team, the number 73 Ben Sharp racing team, will now be looking at the pictures that you are looking at now, trying to figure out, okay, how can we fix this? Can we fix this? What do we need to do to fix this to make sure that our man is out for the first of the two races that are taking place later on this afternoon? Luckily, it is one of the last events of the day here at Croft, is race number 1, so they do have time. However, I believe that all the mechanics have just cancelled their lunch order, Scott, because they are going to be working overtime for the next couple of hours.
Or rather, kept it going, but have to have a sandwich in one hand and
a spanner in another. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Keep working. So there is those novelty forks you can get, which have a little 10-inch ring spanner on the end of them as well, which might be a case of they have to kind of fix something and eat a pie at the same time. I'm channeling my inner James May when I say that.
Yeah, and of course, looking at the crowd there, great to see. This is only Saturday, and we do have a good, decent number of spectators here, which is good to see. We're expecting a lot of spectators tomorrow. It's going to be one of the busiest meetings of the year here at Croft, which just goes to show you not only the excitement level and the way that the TCR UK championships have developed, but also the health of the support events. The BRSCC doing a great job of getting big grids, lots of colourful teams, big teams, a nice mixture I'm noticing around the paddock, Scott. I'm sure you have as well. Of I'm not going to use the O word, the old, but more experienced motorsport veterans and a whole lot of hungry, young, up-and-coming drivers, looking to make a name for themselves, which is a really good mix.
I think experience is the right word.
Yes.
In the same way when you refer to some drivers as amateurs, but I think that seems rather unfair because you get some, in quotation marks, amateur drivers that are actually quite quick. So I prefer to call them enthusiasts rather than amateurs.
Amateurish sort of spells sort of like a lack of professionalism. Every single driver here, whether they're not being paid to drive, but they are professional both in their outlook, the way they conduct themselves, the way they drive, and the teams behind them are extremely professional indeed.
Yeah.
Now let's have a look. Yeah. We're going to the circuit staff here at Croft. They have spent so nice manicuring the lawn, and someone goes and ploughs their field with a Civic.
Yeah, that's be quite inconvenient for some of the farmers around here, I'm sure. But Dan McDonald's car being recovered. Dan McDonald has come quite far away because he's come all the way from the Isle of Lewis, and it's the island in the northwest of Scotland. You look at some of the mileage you get. To give you how long he's had to go back and forth for some of the mileage of that. From last year, we travelled over 8,000 miles going to and from circuits to compete in 5 of the 7 rounds. So that one thing you can't say is that he's not committed, but it's one of those unfortunate situations where he's come all this way and had such a melodrama in qualifying.
The Isle of Lewis, no, it's got not Lewis, which is down south.
Yes, indeed. Isle of Lewis.
Lewis. Oh, there we go. Well, speaking of Lewis, sadly we lost Rhys Lewis from the grid overnight. I think he was a late entry, and I think someone was saying this morning that the motor might have cried enough in his car, so we haven't got there. We've had 26 cars out on circuit. The number 70 car, like I said earlier, the Pro Alloys Racing. Pro Alloys Racing, I'm very impressed with it. They've got a whole heap of cars, and they're all very, very smartly liveried as well. Very striking to look at. But Owen Hillman not out there at the moment. Hopefully, maybe starting in the back of the grid. Now, here's a bit of communication. I believe maybe at the right-hand side of your screen, you've got somebody from Dan McDonald's team there just going out, because this is behind the pit area, to have a look at there. But maybe Alex Goldschmidt is in pit lane. He can maybe cast some light on what's happened, but also gather an eye on what's going to happen when we restart this session.
Right, okay, down in pit lane, cars are lined up, engines still running, and of course Dan McDonald, left front suspension. That's going to be a big repair for the team at Ben Sharp Racing. But we're going to try and catch up with a couple of people, maybe some people we didn't manage to speak to in the holding area. We've also got the number 98 here of Kinetic Motorsports, Mr. Brennan. Right. Jordan, how are you doing? Good to see you. How's it looking out there? Obviously, red flag stoppage has got everyone to sort of like chill out, wait, refocus, reset for 5.5 minutes. It's going to be an absolute slugfest to get a really good lap in there, isn't it?
Yeah, I went out last in that session then, and I've given myself a gap and caught traffic every lap. People spinning in front of me, so I've not had a clean lap yet. So these last 5 minutes are going to be crazy and mega important to get a lap in. So,
where do the strengths of your car seem to lie around here at the circuit?
Nowhere. Just struggling for pace everywhere. So it's one of those. I've done about 10 laps of testing, so we're just kind of straight into it really. But yeah, a few issues to sort with the car, and then we should be sort of there. Well,
at least you got the boss man, Mr. Buki, helping you guys out as well. That must be a really bit of a confidence booster coming into this weekend.
Well, it is. He told me to follow him around then, and straight into turn 2 he's backwards, and I'm like, all right, lovely, cheers for that. Thanks for the help. But yeah, no, it's obviously he's got 8 years experience in it, so it's obviously good to have him out there. But yeah, it's one of those, you can't get track position at the minute, so that's more important than following him around at the minute.
Brilliant, Jordan. All the very best of luck for qualification. So 5.5 minutes. So at the moment, Max Edmondson is leading the way, 1 minute 32.168. We're going to have a chat with, right, I'm going to try and catch his, yes, Simon Welsh, you are going on camera. Right, we've known each other on social media, but finally this weekend we meet, good sir. You had a bit of a mare coming up here yesterday, didn't you?
Just a little bit. They're resurfacing the road outside my house.
My response was, oh, bugger, basically, to that. But
more polite than mine.
Yes, there was. I could feel my ears burning when you posted that tweet. But good to be here at Croft.
Yep.
How's things going so far, mate?
Few little issues and getting used to a new car. So I've never driven this car before now.
But still to be in the mix with 29 other drivers over 2 races, it's going to be absolutely cracking, isn't it?
It's going to be a great day.
Brilliant, Simon. Yeah, indeed. Have a good one, mate. All the very best of luck, Simon Welsh. Right, okay, let's have a chat maybe with one of the guys. Actually, you know what, I'm going to have a chat with this man. I've already spoken to him once this weekend, Mr. Capitoli from Area Motorsport. Right, it's a bit difficult when this kind of things happen when you get a red flag out in qualifying, isn't it, Louis?
Yeah, it's a bit tough. Obviously, we kind of feel like we're in the kind of getting the flow of things, and then obviously red flag halts the process, but we've got a bit of time left, try and find a quicker time and get higher up on that leaderboard.
Yeah, because you're in the top 10 at the moment. You're looking pretty strong. Where do you think you might be able to make up a little bit of extra time in the last 5.5 minutes around the lap here at Croft?
I think within myself, I've got a few more attempts in me, and just things just got to play out a bit better elsewhere. But no, I think we can get top 5. I'd like to hope.
Brilliant, Louis. All the very best of luck for qualifying. 199 from Area Motorsport. Multiple different cars in that. Have to give a shout out to Pro Alloys Racing. They had a wonderful, wonderful shot of their Fiesta Junior and Milltek Sports Civic Cup cars, so that's all quite good. Mr. Kirkpatrick has got a different number because we ended up with 29 cars on the grid. We did have 28, so let's see if I can have a chat with Sam. Sam Fitzpatrick, different race number for this weekend due to a last-minute entry, but how's it going out there?
Yeah, it's good. I've only driven the car for 2 days now, but I feel like I've got the hang of it a bit.
And you know, you've got quite a few strong young drivers, including Louis Capicelli, who I've just spoken to. Very, very much family-orientated run team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice team to be in, and I've been enjoying being with them.
So how much do you think you can get out of the car in the next 5.5 minutes after the red flag is concluded? We go back to green flag conditions.
Not sure. We'll have to see.
Good luck out there. So Sam Fitzpatrick was due to run the number 44. He's running the number 4, thanks to Reese Lewis being a last-minute entry through the notifications that we get. Alistair Camp's car, however, you might want to check this out. There is a rear bumper missing. But looks like things are going to get back underway. We're going to head back to Scott and Henry in the commentary box as qualifying continues here for the Milltek Sport Civic Cup.
Quite possibly lead some way as the reason why we lost Dan McDonald, because if that's a rear bumper missing as the Camp's car,
I'm going to be spotting you guys.
See where I'm going with this. You put 2 and 2 together, and he either will make 4 or will make 5, one of the two. But unless there's been some kind of contact, you see Dan McDonald's car just in the background being brought back into pit lane. So the Ben Sharp Racing Squad will go to work to get that fixed. But as the green flag heads out, we've got another. Oh, I thought Dave Marshall. I thought they'd sent him to go, but then waiting for the car to allow him back out again. We've still got 5.5 minutes left on the clock. So there's still time for drivers to get another couple of quick laps in before the session closes to see if they can knock Max Edmondson off pole. Looking at how competitive it is, top 11 drivers covered by less than 0.8 of a second. So that just proves that, particularly in this field, in particular this year, incredibly competitive. A lot of very strong drivers, which means battling for pole position. It does mean that literally things have been decided by tenths of seconds, and tenths of seconds will really matter when it comes to trying to find the fastest time on track.
So, Scott, obviously Max Edmondson sitting pretty. With 20, I think they're about, with a couple of drivers that obviously Mr. McDonald and 1 or 2 others that might have stopped. There's still going to be 24, 25 Civics going out. Time very short, 5 minutes. You've got obviously the likes of Max Edmondson, Will Retford. There is the green flag finally, so the signals are out. Further down the order, you've got the likes of Capizzoli, of Thackeray, who are really now going to be... situations getting desperate for them. They have got to find some clean track, and they've got maybe 2 laps, maximum 1, maybe 2 laps to really hook something up to get up the grid, because with such a big grid, yes, overtaking is possible here, Scott, but you don't want to be mired in the middle of the pack for one of these 2 races later on.
Yeah, I think they'll get Prophecy around about 3 laps, because we've got 5 minutes left on the clock, and a top lap time is 1 minute 32.1. So that's roughly around about maybe 3 laps or so to get one out, including the out lap here as well.
Providing you're up near the front, because if you're in the middle of the pack, you're going to have to back off and slow down and reduce your lap time, because you'll see there's Leonardo Peneatu trying to get some space. So if you're mired at the back of the order going out, you maybe get less time because you've got to back off to guarantee some clean air.
Front group really trying to get away. There's Danny Hobson, who was one of the most successful drivers when we visited with Civic Cup back in 2019. He's currently sat at the moment third fastest at the moment for Area Motorsport. So I would expect him to try and find a little bit more pace. But when you start to have to go, finding seconds in big chunks of time is usually quite easy. When you start to get to the finer points, trying to find tenths, even hundredths of a second, that's when you have to try and find the little details to turn in a fraction earlier, to get on the power fraction earlier, to brake a fraction later, to change the line slightly, to try and hit that bump, or to hit a certain point, a certain line out of a corner in order to try and make it work a bit better. But these guys here will be just running around together, trying to get a little bit of a tow from each other as they come across the line. So less than 4 minutes to go in this session, and it is the number 14 car Ryan Bensley leading the group, and there's a huge lockup. Bensley heading in towards Clairvaux, and that wasn't even on the nasty bump I was going to mention, because there is a huge, nasty, but also very hidden bump on the apex of Clairvaux. And even this morning in some of the other support races, it's been catching plenty of drivers out in testing yesterday and in qualifying in other sessions this morning. And it's not surprising that it's catching cars out here. And these are lightweight, front-wheel drive, powerful hot hatches. You throw them into the corner and it hits that bump at the wrong angle, you're going sideways.
I think we saw Max Edmondson actually pitting at the end of the outlap, so he's thinking, okay, not good. But this is now a real test of all these drivers. You have got 1-2 minutes to switch on straight away, okay? You've had a break, so the adrenaline has subsided when you're sitting in the pits. Now you've got to go out. And you've got that driver there running wider, so he's not helping. I mean, Hobson there had to maybe lift off, so that first driver that we saw outbraking themselves going into Clairvaux, that has really spoilt this lap for Danny Hobson and the likes of the driver in the red, the new style Civic. But you can see that Hobson, and he's got a bit of a toe. So this is going to be a 2 minutes 45 seconds to go, coming into the complex now. Obviously, they're all hoping that nobody else bins it. Nobody else has any issues. So all these drivers, they're going to be fully amped up. Okay, here we go. Now, this is looking at the number 14 car of Ryan Bensley, one of the Pro Alloy Racing cars. He's had a bit of a sloppy lap, but now he's at least got some clear air in front of him as he starts. Well, I would say he's got this lap and one more lap.
So 2 minutes left on the clock to see if they can knock Max Edmondson from pole. Max himself doesn't look as though he's going to improve. If he is, he's going to do so. That's 199 Louis Capitoli off the road up at Sunny Inn, so a lock up there as he rejoined. He was almost collected by Sam Kirkpatrick, but the former junior saloon racer getting himself well acquainted. He's moved up from junior saloons and then through minis last year up into Civic Cup, so he's firmly onto the road to get himself into a touring car at some point in the future.
You can just see at the side of your screen there, that's Max Edmondson standing, helmet off. He's obviously, now maybe that's not a problem with the car, although he said he had a few gearbox niggles yesterday, but he's thinking, okay, that's as much as I can do. I'm not going to go out. He's thrown the gauntlet down. Okay, come and catch me. There was a bit of dust I just noticed there on in the foreground. That's not great news necessarily. Harvey Caton has also pitted. So this is now where we're going to see the drivers have had their first real flying lap coming across the line. Nobody has improved on their on their earlier times yet. It's still Edmondson, Redford, Hobson, Kirkpatrick, Harding, Bensley, Caton, Capazzoli, Bailey and Alistair Camp, the top 10. There is the look at the yellow number 20 car of James Ramsden. Ramsden.
That's Simon Welch, who's had a spin up at Tower Bend, so Simon Welch getting back going again. I'd like to think it wasn't the conversation Alex Goldsmith that spooked.
I was going to say that would be the first curse the commentator we've had this weekend, Scott. But again,
potentially yes.
How many drivers would have had their last lap ruined because there was a car broadside? This is what the drivers didn't want. This is why Max Edmondson did so well of getting out and getting a banker lap in. That's critical.
And that's the crucial thing, particularly when you've got less time. When you've got compromises like yellow flags and cars in the way in traffic, that's not key. That's Danny Hobson running wide. And either he's just run too deep into what looks like Hawthorn. Yeah, I think it is just him running wide at Hawthorns. I thought it was like there may be a problem with the 38 car, but it looks as though he's managed to gather that all together and back on the circuit once again.
Well, I mean, if you look at the clock, obviously that was the start of his final flying lap. So I think he hasn't improved. He's still third. He probably sent it off into Clairvaux, maximum attack, knowing it was his final lap, and just overcooked it ever so slightly.
Yeah.
So that's it. There's Mark Hughes going through your screen there, in that bright blue new body style Civic. More and more drivers coming into the pits. What have you noticed, Scott?
Alistair Camp is on a personal best on his last lap. He comes across the line, doesn't improve his time, but he stays in 10th. But he was on a personal best in sector 1. May have had to back off because of other cars around in terms of traffic that he had, just wasn't on the same sort of pace. Never mind, checker flag is out on the session, which means that qualifying is complete. Anyone on a lap is allowed to finish it, but anyone crossing the line now is over for their session, and where you end up is where you'll be for race number 1, provided there are any post-race amendments to the session. Across the line comes one of the Pro Alloys cars. Into the final corner, here comes Ryan Bensley being chased down by Alex Kite. Good to see Alex Kite in the championship. He's someone who's had a dabble in TCR UK at some point earlier on and other things, and he's also been quite a prominent sort of rider on 2 wheels, particularly on BMXs and off-roading circles. So it's good to see him now stepping him into 4 wheels. He had a bit of 4-wheel experience, mainly at Castle Combe. It's good to see that he's up there too. He crosses the line. It looks as though at the moment that Max Edmondson is going to be holding on to pole position. Anyone else immediately behind him is not setting any personal bests or session bests at the moment. Everything in the times is all with yellow. One or two cars running a little deep into the corner.
That was Anthony Gannon. This is not the last lap of the race, Anthony. It's the last lap of qualifying. I mean, as they come across the line, he is not in and amongst the top 10.
No.
I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 drivers. Will Redford cross the line there? So Redford doesn't improve, and I think that is everyone, Scott. So,
it is.
Very provisionally, of course, everything that we say here is provisional, subject, of course, to post-race scrutineering, technical checks, what have you. Yeah. Max Edmondson, that strategy worked out very well indeed. Will Redford, but I'm looking a bit further back. Dan Thackeray, pole position at Snetterton, in and amongst the podium, only 12th fastest here. He's got a lot of work to do in that first race later on today.
Certainly has. Amongst some other ones who are a little bit further back, Leo Paniotu is a little bit further back than I expected. He's down towards the bottom of the top 20 somewhere at that point, so he's looking to try and improve that where possible.
Yeah, 25 drivers set a time in this qualifying session. Now, that's not to say that the drivers that didn't set a time won't be going out in the first heat. They may have just had a technical problem that didn't allow them out for this one. But we've got let's have a look at the full rundown, the provisional qualifying rundown as they stand. Scott, a great view here at Croft.
Absolutely. So as qualifying concludes here for Milltek Sports Civic Cup at Croft, here is the provisional result. Max Edmondson takes pole position by a tenth of a second from Will Redford in P2, and Danny Hobson rounds up the top three. He'll try and improve his success from 2019. Sam Kirkpatrick, what a way to make his first appearance in the championship. Fourth fastest, ahead of Ryan Bensley in fifth, and Jack Harding, the championship leader, in sixth, Harvey Cate in seventh, Louis Capazzoli in eighth, then Morgan Bailey, and former champion Alistair Camp in 10th position. Alex Kite 11th fastest from Snetterton pole sitter Dan Thackeray back in 12th. Welcome back to Dave Buki, who makes his return in 13th fastest, and then Jordan Brennan rounds out the top 14. He'll be on the 7th row with his Kinetic Motorsport team boss. Dave Marshall in one of the better placed FN2 Civics in 15th fastest, Leah Paniotti 16th, Travis Chapman in 17th, and then Tommy Knight and Dan McDonald, who did set the 19th fastest time despite his problems with either contact or failure on the left front of that car. Nick Charlier rounds out the top 20 from James Ramsden and Mark Hughes, then Anthony Gannon, Jeff Alden, Simon Welch, Jackson White and Owen Hillman didn't set a proper time out there, and he'll be starting from the back of the grid in 27th position. So the entire field covered by around about 7 seconds or so. Bit of an anomaly there with Owen Hillman's time, given he didn't set a proper lap time anyway. But in terms of the times, at least at the top of the set standings, incredibly competitive, and we can confirm that the top 11 cars separated by less than 8/10 of a second. That's certainly going to make it pretty close. Let's see what the drivers thought of that, and also how Alex Goldschmidt thought of that. He's down in pit lane.
Right, okay, pole position. Last time out at Snetterton went to Dan Thackeray, Max Edmondson. God, it was close. 10th, innit?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. First ever pole. It wasn't the bestest of laps I could have done. I was on for a bit of a quicker lap, but I'm happy with pole.
I mean, even with the red flag stoppage, which was about 5.5 minutes still to go in the session. I mean, Dan McDonald's got a bit of a drama with the left front suspension. It still made sure you still kept your focus and still kept pounding laps just to see if you could get that extra time out of the car.
Yeah. After my good lap, I went for another push lap, locked up, and I think the front tyres are gone. But yeah, I'm happy.
And that means 6 points in the bag before race 1 this afternoon. That's a nice little addition, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's put me P1 up in the championship anyway, just until now. I mean, we'll see. We need to just get consistent points across the year and get some good points this afternoon and towards tomorrow.
Max, well done today, mate. Pole position for race 3 of the season, number 33, Max Edmondson. Quite a spread of drivers, of course. Dan McDonald and the team at Ben Sharp Racing have got a very, very big task. The left front suspension, when I saw the flatbed coming down the start-finish straight, heading into the holding area, it was completely to the inside of the wheel arch itself. So, you know what? I mean, that just sets the scene for what's going to be an exciting race 3 of the 2023 Milltek Sports Civic Cup here at Croft in North Yorkshire. You know what? I can't really... I mean, I love these old school cars with the shifter actually on the dashboard. So it's going to be a case of you're going to have to wait and see as race 3 of the 2023 Milltek Sports Civic Cup gets underway this afternoon in Croft. Don't forget, you can tune in live on the Civic Cup official YouTube channel and check out our socials whilst you're at it. See you a bit later on this afternoon, folks.
And we are racing, and it's an absolutely electric start with the 42 of Will Redford from the wide entry. That's a racing line. Will Redford drifting the back end quite a bit, but look at that, the massive lunge up the inside by Matt Luff on Alistair Camp through the first couple of corners.
Huge lock-up.
That's a 66.
It's terrible.
On the outside. Dropped on. Oh, big off. Straight in the gravel trap. Both cars out. Winning earlier on, and look, this is trying to go round to the outside. Now this is probably the move of the day.